Now it's our time for keynote speaker. We are very honored to introduce our first keynote speaker, Dr. Mumit Khan. So Dr. Mumit Khan is Director of Information Technology at BC Transit. So Mumit started his career as a research engineer in the US, spending a decade working on nanoscale semiconductor device modeling and simulation. Then he moved back to Bangladesh in 2003 and joined BRAC University faculty and spent the next decade teaching computer science and building a Bangla-focused computational linguistic research center. He then joined Amazon Canada, working on a variety of products around rare and collectible books. He then moved to the BC government to work on enabling the use of public cloud, and then recently joined BC Transit to lead the technology team. So audience, you can see he have had the opportunity to work in academia and research, Center for Nanotechnology, nonprofit like BRAC, tech startup Amateur Cloud, and corporate like ABE Books and Amazon. And last but not the least, he is now working in the public sector, BC government and BC Transit. Dr. Mumit has received his BSc and MSc in Electrical and Computer Engineering and PhD in Software Engineering in Computational Sciences, and all from University of Wisconsin and Madison. So I would like to now invite Dr. Mumit Khan to say a few words. We are very honored to have you in our AGM. Dr. Mumit Khan.
Thank you. সবাইকে অনেক ধন্যবাদ আমাকে আমন্ত্রণ জানার জন্য। আমি অ্যাকচুয়ালি খুবই খুশি দেখে যে এখানে প্রায় কত 72 participants। আমি যখন শুরু করলাম আজকে 5:30টার সময় they were like 38, so this is a fantastic news, the interest in this। আর শুরু করার আগে আমি একটু বলতে চাই যে the professional organizations like this is invaluable, not just for the established engineers and the professionals, but really to bring up the next generation of those who are students, those who want to move into technology and engineering and computer science. We play a role in mentoring and supporting that whole new generation that's coming up. So I think that's where I see a value in such an organization. So thank you for having such an organization, driving this and doing all the work, hard work, and actually running this show. And secondly, আমি কবিতাও পারি না, আমি উইভারও না, স্পাইডারও না। তো আমি আপনার নাজমুল সাহেবের খুবই সুন্দর লাগলো শুনে। আমি চেষ্টা করব একটু উইভ করতে, একটু স্পাইডারি কথাবার্তা বলতে, বাট তারপর দেখবো যে কি হয়। যেটা as an engineer, I've been an engineer and a scientist in the past in very different lives. One of the things I've seen in engineering that I strongly believe in, engineering drives change through innovation. And that's the only way engineers are going to move forward, is not to do the same things. Every day is a new thing. Every change is good and bad. Our goal is to find that passion. ওই ভালোবাসা না থাকলে কোনোদিনও আমরা আগাবো না। একই জিনিস যদি প্রত্যেকদিন করি, যেটাই করি, যত ভালোই কাজ হোক, কয়েকদিন পরে এটা আর ভালো লাগবে না। So that change is fundamental. Change drives innovation, innovation drives change, and that leads to disruption. So if we look at technology, engineering technology in any field, over the last 10 years, everything's changed because that rate of change is moving faster and faster and faster. And that also creates, one, an opportunity. এখন কিন্তু আগের মতো আমার ইঞ্জিনিয়ার হতে হবে, পড়াশোনা করতে হবে, ওখানে 10 বছর কাজ করতে হবে, তারপর আমি কিছু করতে পারবো। That whole philosophy is gone. It's much, much faster, which also brings challenges. তার মানে আমাকে, I also have to move fast. So one of the things that I see as a role that I have is providing sort of that level of mentoring for young professionals who are coming to the field. And the three things I always talk about. One is drive innovation. Think outside the box. Don't think it can't be done. Think of how it can be done. And some of it's going to be impossible. But guess what? Some things that seemed impossible 20 years ago is no longer, it's just every day. We do it every day today. Second is change. Don't think you can't do it because you just have to try and do it. Move, move, move. Be it jobs, be it the technology, big wide world. Just looking at computer engineering, I'm not talking about computer science. Computer engineering, there's probably hundreds of different types of things you can do. It's a question of being able to move with the flow, with understanding how things change. And that requires constant study, constant reading, keeping up with what's happening around you, networking. Organizations like this often help. And then the third one really is figuring out, innovation. What can I do that hasn't been done? How can I move things forward? How can I not think status quo, that things that have always been there will always be there? Well, that's not true anymore. Things will change radically. A few years ago, who thought that everybody's going to have online meetings? We used to have it. It was horrible. Now it's the way things are. We have stopped traveling. We have actually become far more productive, because I used to spend there was a way back 25 years ago, I spent most of my time on an airplane, because I would go from research center to research center, conference to conference. Now, the amount of time we wasted, networking was good, physical connection is good, but the amount of time we wasted was unbelievable. Now I can do all of that locally. So there's been a lot of different ways of interactions, ways of actually networking, ways of mentoring, ways of supporting young professionals coming up in the field that have never been there before. So আমাদের একটা কাজ যেটা আমি সবসময় দেখি, how do we support the people coming into the field, into engineering, and making sure that it's not for us to tell them what they need to do, because that's them to figure out. It's for us to support their goals, support their innovation spirit, support their, এই যে আমরা একটু আগে দেখলাম এখান থেকে একটা স্টার্টআপ তৈরি হচ্ছে, নামটা খেয়াল নেই, something along those lines. How can we support those ideas of people taking a risk, knowing full well 90% will fail, but it's the 10% that's going to be fantastic, because that's how you learn, and supporting those activities. So how can we get students who are going to various universities in BC, colleges and universities, how can we bring them into the professional world, support them through this, figuring out co-ops? So one of the things I always tell students here, get co-ops. That's the first real foray into an engineering job. Do it today, don't wait. So one of the things that I ask everyone who has been here a professional for a long time, who've been established in the field, pick up mentoring wherever you get the opportunity. Pick up mentoring at every opportunity, because that's sort of the impact we leave behind. Everything else will go away, but mentoring will leave behind a stamp on a successful engineering career somewhere out there, which is invaluable. It's we can do many things that will not last, but mentoring, the impact of mentoring will last well beyond what we can do elsewhere. And the second one is learn, keep on learning new things. There's really nothing else we can do that will be even come close to that. So in my own professional career in BC, one of the things I've seen is we're going through significant changes in the province itself. In engineering, we're losing some of the industries because of change in the global economy, the way the economic structure is, but we're building new industries. This is also an opportunity for organizations like BECBC to come forward and try to figure out how to play a role in bringing in professionals into those new industries that are now really moving fast. Software engineering is a classic example. BC has now become, at least Vancouver area, hotbed for engineering, software development. How do we get people involved? How do we bring our younger generation into that community? How do we provide co-op opportunities? How do we provide networking opportunities? So that is one area that I think is going to grow at 1,000% over the next 10 years. Company I was with, there are 19 people in Vancouver in 2012. Today, about 6,000. And they're looking at 10,000 in the next a year or so. So it's growing at an incredible pace. So one of the things that you could reach out, find out who needs a co-op. If you know a company that's offering co-op, make that connection. Help get people jobs, have people network them into a first professional job is the hardest one. And that's where we can play a really, really strong role. We are hiring, come and join us. But thank you very much. I really appreciate the invitation. So I'm going to listen in for the rest of the day or evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Mumit Bhai. What an encouraging talk for us today, in tonight's evening. So we will take some questions to you. I think our first question will be asked by Shafi Sarwar. Shafi Sarwar, if you can unmute yourself.
মুমিত ভাই, আসসালামু আলাইকুম মুমিত ভাই, আপনি এনকারেজিং স্পিচের জন্য। অ্যাকচুয়ালি আমি আসলে প্রফেশনাল ডেভেলপমেন্ট ভাইস চেয়ার হিসেবে অর্গানাইজেশনে 1 বছর ধরে কাজ করছি। তো আমি যখন আসলে আমাকে যখন একটা স্লাইড বানাতে বললো যে 2021-এ আসলে আমাদের ফোকাস পয়েন্ট কি হবে, তো আমি আসলে কালকে রাতে সাইড ভাইকে পাঠিয়েছি। তো আসলে আমি আপনি যে কথাগুলো বললেন প্রথমে, যে ইনোভেশন চেঞ্জ, আমার ফার্স্ট ইয়েতেই কিন্তু এটাই ছিল যে আসলে হোয়াট আর দ্য ইনোভেশন অ্যান্ড বিকজ কারেন্টলি কোভিড, ডিউ টু কোভিড, so technology is changing very fast, and due to covid we see the different scenario. We were working from home, totally out of physical, but our deliverable, our education and deliverable is going smoothly, because I'm doing on retailer organization and IT engineers. So yes, so আপনার কাছে আমার যে কোশ্চেন, আসলে যে চেঞ্জিং এনভায়রনমেন্টে আমরা আসলে কিভাবে নিজেদেরকে ফিট করবো, এবং আমাদের কি কি ধরনের নিউ স্কিল সেট আসলে আমাদের, যদি বলি আগামী 5 বছরে কি কি নতুন স্কিল সেট আমাদেরকে বিল্ড করতে হবে, আপনি যদি আমাদেরকে কিছু গাইড দিতেন বা কিছু বলতেন।
বিশাল প্রশ্ন। এটা হচ্ছে আমাদের সবচেয়ে বড় চ্যালেঞ্জ, তাই কিভাবে আমরা ভবিষ্যৎ দেখতে পারি। কিন্তু এমনি কিছু তো স্কেল আছে, যেমন আমাদের এখন, আমি একটা উদাহরণ দিই। হোয়াটসঅ্যাপ, সবাই হোয়াটসঅ্যাপ ব্যবহার করে, ওর স্ন্যাপচ্যাট, এগুলা $20 বিলিয়ন দিয়ে কেন স্ন্যাপচ্যাট বিক্রি হলো? নট বিকজ দ্য টেকনোলজি বিহাইন্ড ইট, বাট ডেটা। ইটস অ্যাবাউট ডেটা। আমাদের এখন কোভিড হ্যাজ ক্রিয়েটেড আ নিড ফর ডেটা দ্যাটস এভরিওয়্যার। একটা স্কিল যেটা সবার, it doesn't matter কোন engineering profession, actually doesn't have to be engineering, প্রত্যেকের একটা স্কিল যেটা আমি বলবো যে has to be a fundamental skill হবে, and that already is there, but next 5 years will be data. How do you manage data? How do we analyze data? How do we understand data? How do we produce different views of the data that makes it useful? আমি যদি এখন একটা বিজনেস মিটিং এ যাই, আমাদের 5 বছর আগে, যে কয়েক বছর আগে আমার পুরাতন কোম্পানিতে আমরা যেভাবে উইকলি বিজনেস রিভিউ করতাম, এরা বেশিরভাগ MBA, কিন্তু প্রত্যেকে there was a data scientist living in each person, because that's what drives now. The need for information is the fundamental driving force, যে কোনো industry. So I would say data is one that almost everybody needs to understand. And I'm buzzword দিয়ে লাভ নেই, big data, small data, that's not really relevant. It's about value of data. What is the value of that data, and how do we use it to drive decisions? How do we make decisions based on data? I think that's a skill set that is sorely missing in today's demand. The demand management today is so high that আমাদের যা data আমরা যেগুলো ভাবে শিখি, that's just minimal. That's going to be one of the things. So এখন now you see all sorts of statistics. সবাই শিখে আসছি, কিন্তু actually ব্যবহার করাটা in a wider form. So that's one skill that I would say fundamental. The second one is the one that, it's fundamental for everybody, right? It's really about learning about innovation. Innovation কিন্তু আমরা সবাই বুঝি innovation, but what is actually innovative? Sometimes the most obvious things are innovative. There are classic examples, even in transportation industry, of something that was so innovative that everybody's like, wow. Shared, এখন যেটা আমরা করি, Uber was, বাংলাদেশে আমরা রিক্সা একজন, দুইজন করে, তিনজন করে রিক্সায় উঠতো, সবাই টাকা দিয়ে দিত, তাই না? কারণ একই জায়গায় যাচ্ছি আমরা, কারণ একজন একটা রিক্সা নেবে কে? এখানে সেটা হতো না। এখন the shared services have become the fundamental driving force. So innovation comes in different forms, and studying innovation is very important. So I think the skill set in driving innovation and learning to fail. Innovation requires you to fail, because you will not learn, you will not innovate without failing 1,000 times. ওই যে বলো না যে প্রথম লাইট বাল্ব যেটা কাজ করেছে, তার আগে 10,000 লাইট বাল্ব কাজ করেনি, সেজন্য that is the other one is data, other one is learning to fail. Accept failure as the fundamental driving force behind innovation, and learn those two things. I think the fundamental skill in the next 5 years.
Thank you, Mumit bhai.
থ্যাংক ইউ শফি সারওয়ার এন্ড থ্যাংক ইউ মুমিত ভাই, আপনার ব্যাকগ্রাউন্ডটা খুব পছন্দ হয়েছে এবং আবারও ধন্যবাদ আজকে আমাদের সাথে জয়েন করার জন্য ভিক্টোরিয়া থেকে। আমরা আশা করি ভবিষ্যতে আপনার সাথে আরো কোলাবোরেশন করতে পারবো। আপনি যে মেন্টরশিপ প্রোগ্রামের কথা বলেছেন সেটার সাথেও আমরা যুক্ত থাকার চেষ্টা করব এবং স্টার্টআপ নিয়েও আপনার সঙ্গে কথা হবে। কারো যদি কোনো কোশ্চেন থাকে আপনারা আমাদেরকে contact@becbc.org তে ইমেল করতে পারেন, আমরা এটা পৌঁছে দেবো আমাদের স্পিকারদের কাছে আনসার করার জন্য।